Let me come clean with you guys and admit that I know that Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions, but the problem is I think that with this kind of philosophy, it's difficult to follow to a T and people will end up suppressing their emotions. Stoicism is supposed to be about obtaining mastery over your emotions, not allowing them to control you and controlling them instead. The problem is this is very difficult for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't have the intellectual or emotional intelligence to really know the difference, and so they are going to end up suppressing their emotions. But this is not the only issue that I have with Stoicism. I also do not like this idea of premeditatio malorum, imagining the worst possible outcome or worst case scenario so that when that event potentially arises, you are prepared for it. Stoicism has many mottos like Amor, Fati, which is embracing or loving your fate, Memento, Mori, remember that you will die, so live a full and meaningful life while you're here. But premeditatio malorum is a bad one. You should not constantly be thinking about what the worst case scenario is, because whatever you think about, you become. Whatever you imagine, you attract. And I understand you're thinking this sounds like, law of attraction or manifestation. That's because it is. That's what this is. Many people like to say that you are not your thoughts, but you do become your thoughts. And whatever you're focusing on consistently will become a predominant part of your life. So if you are constantly preparing yourself for the worst case scenario, whether it's a horrible breakup or a horrible injury or an illness or something like that, it's just going to happen to you. You're just going to bring it to you. Memento Mori is like on a similar vein because it's this idea of premeditating your death, or just thinking about the fact that you are going to die, which is like the ultimate worst thing that could happen to you, right? But it's not really the same, because death isn't inevitable for everyone, but the worst possible case scenario is not inevitable. You can avoid that. Thinking about your death will only remind you to live more, but thinking about the worst possible case scenario is not going to cause you to feel better or happier or strive for the best case scenario. That doesn't make any sense. Also, the entire purpose of Stoicism is to achieve the life of equanimity, to live this sort of stoic baseline existence at all times, so that some of the emotions are dampened, some of them are heightened, to always bring you to this sort of stoic baseline. Because being angry and sad, that's bad. You shouldn't feel those emotions. You shouldn't express those emotions. But also allowing your ego to be filled, that's not good either. Ego is the enemy. Remain the same at all times. What a tragic way to live your existence. This makes sense if you're, say, a Roman emperor or a slave, because a Roman emperor, his life is filled with such luxury and ease that, yeah, his emotions could be peaked at all times, and he's just gonna reach this like new ceiling that doesn't exist. He needs to be brought to baseline. And the same for a slave. Your existence is down here all the time. If you can remain stoic and not, be upset or frustrated about your situation, then maybe you can remain at this higher baseline. Do you see what I'm saying? But for the most part, most people, I think it's probably good for you to want to feel your emotions and understand that it's okay to have highs and lows. That's what life is all about. You can't have flowers without rain. You can't have joy without pain. So yes, I understand Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions. All in all, it's a good philosophy if it worked. The problem is I don't think it works for most people, because you get like what most of the people were saying in the comments, like I'm talking about modern broicism. How is it any different? How are you going to actually put it into practice any differently? Ultimately, I think that you are going to end up suppressing your emotions, or trying to, and then you're going to end up failing, in which it's a bad philosophy because it causes you to fail, or it's a useless philosophy because it doesn't actually work. That's just my opinion.